birthdays are these things that we like celebrate, you know, kind of like they're an accomplishment, but they're actually not, because we all know that birthdays are kind of just what happens while you're like lying on your living room floor waiting for death's icy grip. And you know, like 364 days of the year, you're just eating Wonder Bread out of the bag, and then like on the 365th day, you get cake! And it really, like, bad news, everybody, it gets shittier as you get older. So I'm 38 today, and so I'm like solidly, yeah, see? You think it's an accomplishment, let me do it. So I'm like solidly out of like the cool part of your birthdays where you get like rad-ass toys. And like the best thing that happens once you're 38 is that people tell you that you're younger, that you look younger than you are. And like, there's the part of you that hates yourself for that compliment because you're like, and then there's the other part of you that's like, well, yes, I am upholding the patriarchy's fucked up beauty standards very well, thank you. I'm moisturized. But there is one way in which having a birthday and like getting older seems like an accomplishment, and that's if you've had a super fucked up medical experience. So I'll just pull one out at random that advances the narrative that I wanted to tell you, which is, I don't know, let's go with having a brain tumor when you're 19. Oh, yeah, that's what every comedian wants to hear from the crowd. So our story improbably begins at the gynecologist's office. I don't know how you did in biology, but I didn't do great. Basically, like, my body to me is kind of like just like a bag of straw with like a speaker and 2 webcams on top of it. And that's an understanding that has served me very well for 38 years. So, you know, at least based on that understanding, I feel like the probability of finding a brain tumor through your vagina is very small, but not zero. So it's not just any trip to the gynecologist, it's actually my first trip to the gynecologist. So I'm in my freshman year of college. It's the first time I've had health care, like, for a decade or more. And so the woman that I went to see was like, in addition to the super awkward, like, shirt and clam outfit physical exam we'll be giving you down there, we'll also be giving you like a regular physical exam because you should probably have one. So she starts like giving me this physical, and she feels around kind of like my neck region, and she's like, you had any weird symptoms lately? Which is literally like just the worst possible question a doctor can ask you. So before I answer or tell you what I answered to that question, a little bit of context here. So, first of all, it's 1999 and the internet is slow as fuck. So not only does Googling your symptoms not exist yet, because Google doesn't exist yet, but using the internet for anything is not what you think of, because it's slow. Downloading porn on the internet in 1999 was literally watching the birthing process. You'd be like, oh, I see the head. Oh, that is so beautiful. It's like the internet is giving birth to a dick for you to masturbate to. But it's gonna take a long time, so it's kind of oh, that's great. Well, it looks like it's gonna be a couple more hours, so I'm gonna go to the cafeteria. You want anything? You want anything? Inanimate computer that a penis is loading on. So, that's one piece of context. But also just I didn't know a whole lot about my body. I feel like when people tell you that you're gonna go through puberty, whether you're a boy or a girl, you're like, all right, so puberty's coming. Puberty, wow. Your body changes, everybody. And it's kind of like people are giving you a box of information, and they tell you only a little bit about what's in it. So they're like, all right, well, here is your ladyhood starter kit. You're gonna bleed out of your vagina. There's gonna be a lot of other changes, and there's definitely no poisonous snakes in this box at all anymore. Here you go. Enjoy unpacking that for the next 10 years. And so, you're like, okay. They're like, oh, yeah, hair's gonna come out of everywhere. So, as the doctor asked me this question, like, have you had any weird symptoms? I kind of feel like I don't have no context for what a weird symptom actually is. And then she says, for example, has anything ever come out of your breasts? And I'm like, oh. So, as a teenager, I feel like I spent a fair amount of time, like, looking down at my chest and being like, when's my shipment of tits coming in? They're not in the puberty box! They're, like, permanently lost in the mail for me or something. So, I'm, like, looking down at my chest fairly frequently, waiting for whatever poisonous snakes are going to happen. And, every once in a while, there'd be, like, a slight little bit of milky fluid on my nipples. Every once in a while. Not, like, disturbing if you have no context for what fucking weird is. But as I'm talking to the doctor and I'm describing this to her, I realize that the question, have you had any weird symptoms lately, has a correct answer, and that answer is not yes. So she's like, oh. And it suddenly makes, like, the connection is made in my mind where I'm like, oh, holy fuck, the milky shit coming out of my boobs is actual fucking milk. I am 19, I'm not pregnant, and I'm lactating. Shit! So we'll fast forward, because there was like many months of like going to the doctor and stuff. And then eventually it became obvious that I had to have surgery. So it turns out there's a kind of brain tumor that you can have where it's on your pituitary gland, which is like right the fuck in the middle of your head. It is like, make a crossroads like this, and it's in the center. So it's basically like landlocked by your brain. So there's like no way of getting in from any of the outer portions. So when you have brain surgery, here's what happens. If it's right in the middle of your fucking head, they go in Egyptian style. Who remembers how you got the brains out of Egyptian mummies? 5th grade geography class. Yeah, so you either get an incision under here, or you get an incision up here. So I'm really glad that they didn't go with Scarface Hitler. Like, I kind of wish I had a cool scar, but like not that one. So they went in under here, so that like they basically like they put you out. Fortunately, you were way the fuck asleep for this. And then they make an incision under here, and they basically pop the hood. So they kind of like peel your face up. Yeah. Sarah promised me I couldn't be too gross. Maybe I can. So they pop the hood, and they just kind of like go in there and they fish it out. And I'm sure there's like more of an art, again, not great with biology or medicine. Like I'm sure it's not just like a dude in a Rubbermaid like dishwashing glove like up to his elbow in my face. But that's what it felt like when I woke up. So I wake up and it's like, it's pitch dark. Somebody out in the hallway is like way less medicated than me because they're like screaming at the top of their lungs. And the thing that happens when you get brain surgery is that, you're bleeding, like you had surgery. So what they do is like, they basically stuff your nose. So you have basically like an improvised tampon. Like, I don't know if any of you have ever been somewhere where like space and time have so separated you from access to a tampon that your choices are free bleeding in your only pants or just improvising with toilet paper. Yeah. So that's basically what they do with your sinuses. They like pack it all up in there, and then they kind of put everything back on. And you're still bleeding, so that blood just sort of like goes down your throat and into your stomach. Yeah. So the minute I wake up, it's like my hospital bed is like a rowboat that I'm bailing out. I'm like, Captain, we're not going down! Just like dramatic, like hours of bleeding into my stomach. All over the floor. Fortunately, in a place that's unlike a Zipcar, very, very equipped to deal with that amount of bodily fluid. And so, you just like hang out for a couple of days, and like eventually the bleeding stops. Unfortunately, the human stomach only has so much of a capacity. So I stopped puking eventually, and then it was just like chilling. I couldn't like smell anything. I was really fucking tired, because my face got peeled off. But then the last thing that happened before I left the hospital is that you still have like your now 3-day-old improvised sinus tampon is still like in there. And they got it in the easy way because the hood was up at the time. So my last interaction in the hospital was the doctor coming in and like sitting down in bed and being like, oh, we're going to release you today. We just got to take out the packing. And I was like, the what? And he reached with a fucking forceps up my nose and pulled that motherfucker out. And that's about all I remember because I passed out. And that's actually the only part of the story that's still traumatizing to me, is like the profound feeling of like the world's now driest nose tampon being yanked out of my sinuses. And that's how you make it to 30